Good evening. My name is Michelle Larashi, and I am a counselor here in St. Louis, Missouri, and also co-chair of the Missouri Association of College Admission Counselors. It's my pleasure this evening to be the facilitator for our session hosted by Pepperdine University. In just a moment, you will hear from two of their admission representatives to tell you all about the great programs, resources, and activities that they have to offer you. Before we get started, though, I have a few announcements, as you'll see here on the screen. This is a webinar, which means that the presenters will not be able to see or hear you. So you will want to type any of your questions into the Q&A box located on your screen. So the presenters will get to the questions after they have done their initial presentation. So please go ahead and type your questions in there, and they will get to them shortly. As a reminder, your camera and microphone are off, so we can't see or hear you. The way to communicate is through that Q&A. We have about a week and a half remaining of our MOACAC seminars through the Show Me program. So we encourage you to sign up for more of those sessions. We have several more college sessions. We also have some career exploration, military sessions coming up next week. And lastly, this session will be recorded and available on the moacac.org website in the next few days. You'll also find on the website that we have the past 2.5 weeks worth of recordings on there as well. So please check those out. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, once again, yeah, thank you for having us. I think right now I'll make sure that I start sharing my screen so that we can be able to kind of see a little bit of the backdrop that is Pepperdine University. So right there. So really quickly, just to introduce myself, my name is Eddie Mejia. I'm one of the admission counselors at Pepperdine University. I'm also joined today by my colleague Lexi Johnson, who is another admission counselor. So right that she is also an expert on Pepperdine, as she is also an alum, a recent alum. She just graduated this past May. So with that, if there are any questions that any of you might have, you can feel free to put that in the chat section, and we'll be able to answer those during the session. So let's just jump right into it and start off with Pepperdine University and its location. So we are located in the Southern California city of Malibu. You can see right here, this is where our campus is located, right along Pacific Coast Highway. And we're about 30 minutes away from Santa Monica and about 40 to 50 minutes away from downtown LA. That is, of course, without any traffic. But this allows not only for a great place to study for our students, but they also are able to access the resources that are located within the backyard that is, one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the country of Los Angeles. So let's continue on to see what Pepperdine is all about. And so one of the things that I always tell students to keep in mind is that, as you're going through the college search process, is always to consider the university's mission statement, because this is where you really get to the crux of what the university is hoping to achieve on a daily basis. And so you can see right here, it says Pepperdine is a Christian university committed to the highest standards of academic excellence and Christian values, where students are strengthened for lives of purpose, service, and leadership. And so, for us, this is something that you can be able to see what Pepperdine hopes to achieve on a daily basis with each student that comes through its doors. And why I bring this up is that, as you're continuing to see, what schools that you're considering, as you fill out your application, you can be able to say, hey, what are examples within my personal life where I'm able to demonstrate purpose, service, and leadership? Maybe you do volunteer work with a local organization. Maybe you're the captain of a sports team or the leader of an organization. You want to be able to highlight those so that for us on our end, we can be able to say, this is a student that we feel is a great fit for our university community. So hopefully that's something that you can kind of keep in mind. But in essence, if you were to break down just within a group of words to describe Pepperdine, we are a small private liberal arts Christian university. So let's go through each of those aspects right now. Pepperdine is a small private university, and so we have an undergraduate population of about 3,400 students. We have an average classroom size of about 19 students. So this means that you really get to know your classmates and your peers, but you especially get to know your faculty. One of the fun facts is that 35% of the faculty live on campus. So For students that are going through maybe their first year seminar, their professors might say, hey, class next week is going to be held at my house, where they really get to know your goals, your aspirations, and maybe ways that they can be able to help you along that path. And why that's important is because we feel that those mentor-like relationships are extremely fruitful in terms for students to be able to maybe work with their professors to get letters of recommendation when it comes to applying for graduate school. Maybe it's doing undergraduate research opportunities, or maybe if you have a particular industry or field that you're interested in, our professors are coming in with a lot of great worldly experience. So they might have connections for those students to be able to say, hey, I know someone at this location. Here's their email contact. Feel free to reach out to them and let them know that I sent you. And those are things that we want to be able to have our students experience. For us, we also offer a liberal arts curriculum. And so with that, this means that we want to be able to provide students with a well-rounded academic experience. So you have your choice between 44 majors and 41 minors. And on the right-hand side, you can see some of our most popular majors at Pepperdine. These include, business administration, psychology, biology, economics, and sports medicine. And even aside from these popular majors, the good thing is that for students that are applying to Pepperdine, we don't have any impacted majors. So this means that for us, when students are applying, they don't have a more difficult time to gain admission based on what their intended major is. So whether you apply business administration or history or sports medicine, you still have that equal opportunity to come into Pepperdine. We feel that at the end of the day, if we feel that you are a strong candidate and you are a great university fit, we'll be more than happy to accept you and bring you onto our campus. And so one thing I also do want to mention here is that, we don't have students officially declare their major until the end of their sophomore year. So you still have time to figure out, what's your particular niche, what's your particular passion. So if you want to do a double major, you want to do a major with a double minor, Pepperdine offers that flexibility for you to be able to kind of see what is the best fit for you in regards to what your professional path could look like. Another important aspect of Pepperdine is its Christian mission. And we feel that at Pepperdine, it's important not only to educate the mind, but as well to educate the soul. So what that looks like for students during their college career, they would take 3 religion courses and then as well take part in something known as a convocation series. Convocation is time set aside for students to grow within their spiritual journey, whatever that might look like for themselves. So that might be a one-on-one mentorship with the professor. That could be going to a lecture series to hear guest speakers discuss certain topics and issues. Or you could see from our background picture, this is one of our more popular outings, which is Surf Convo, where students go to the beach early in the morning, they do Bible study, and then afterward they get to go surf. And that's something that you can say is literally part of your educational curriculum. There are over 100 options per week that students can select, so you can decide what is the best way for you to have that conversation. Though we are a Christian university, students do not have to be Christian to attend Pepperdine. We don't have students sign statements of faith or anything like that. We are welcoming and accepting of all voices, all faiths, all backgrounds. And so it's good to know that the students that we bring to campus, we did so confident knowing that their voice can contribute to the conversations that are held on campus. And so we want to make sure that all students feel respected and they have the ability to be heard and offer their perspectives, their viewpoints, and can be able to be part of that conversation to maybe say, hey, I want to maybe find what faith looks like for myself, and maybe I can play a positive part in term for other students on campus to figure out what faith looks like for them as well. And so whether you're coming from a particular, Christian faith background, or maybe coming from a different faith, or maybe don't have one at all, that's perfectly fine. I think for us, we want to be able to make sure that our students can come in with an open mind to sit at the table and be able to have those discussions. So that's at least a little bit in terms for kind of what faith looks like at Pepperdine. Now, to discuss a little bit in terms for kind of what the community at Pepperdine looks like. You can see at the bottom, these are some of the most popular states that our students are coming from. A little bit over half are coming from the state of California. But then as well, we have students coming from Texas, Washington, Colorado, Illinois. And then we have a 13% international student population. So we have those students that represent at least 60 countries around the globe. And you can also see from the right-hand side, a little bit of the demographic information in terms for kind of what the breakdown looks like at Pepperdine. And some of the students usually ask me, hey, what makes the community at Pepperdine stand out, or what makes it special? How can I be able to get involved in that community? And one of the ways that we implement that is through some of the clubs and organizations that are available on campus. And so there are multiple ways that students can be able to be engaged. And so, for example, whether that's identity-based groups, maybe that's being part of an organization like the Black Student Association, the Latino Student Association, Korean Student Association, as well as others. This allows students to be able to maybe be with other students that look like them, that come from similar backgrounds, similar cultural heritages as them. And even if you don't identify with these groups, you could still be able to support other student groups on campus by maybe going to their events and supporting them in other ways. And then as well, we have service and social action clubs. So, for us, you saw that in our mission statement, service is something that is important to us. So being able to give back to the community is something that we offer our students, especially through the Pepperdine Volunteer Center. We have students that can be involved in student-led ministry. So if you want to be able to grow within your personal faith and maybe help other students within their spiritual journeys, you can do that. Pepperdine, we have Greek Life. So we have 13 sororities and fraternities that are available for students to join. And usually we see about 30% of the student population is involved in that. And you can see that, for students that are involved in Greek Life, they usually especially do a great job giving back in terms for philanthropy work. Next, we have our special interest groups. And these are specific clubs with maybe specific interests. So maybe that could be the Pepperdine Accounting Club, the Pepperdine Pre-Law Club, or maybe it's other, fun clubs like the Pepperdine Spikeball Club, the Pepperdine Gaming Club. There are different ways that you can be able to find yourself engaged in different aspects of the Pepperdine community. But if there's not a specific club that you see on campus, it doesn't mean that you couldn't create it. For example, 2 years ago, we had a group of students come together and say, we want to create the first generation student club. And these were allowing students to be able to provide mentorship and opportunities for other first-gen students to come on campus to help them navigate the college space. So once again, all you need is just a group of students and then as well faculty or staff member to be the advisor, and you're pretty much good to go. Pepperdine is a Division I school, and so we play in the West Coast Conference. So we go against schools like LMU, St. Mary's College, as well as Gonzaga. And it's usually especially a fun time during basketball season where we get to see them come on to Pepperdine's house and you see the students pack the gymnasium. And sometimes those games are televised, so that's always really neat. And then as well, we have club and intramural sports as well as fitness classes that students can take in terms for being able to stay engaged and fit, especially to kind of utilize the background that is Los Angeles. We sometimes see students go to the beach to do surfing. Sometimes they'll go on hiking and trails on the background that is the Santa Monica Mountains. And so there are different ways that you can utilize the space, not only on the campus, but as well even just outside of it. Now, an important topic that I especially want to get to, and a very popular one that we love talking about, is our international programs. Pepperdine Study Abroad program is something that we extremely cherish and are proud of. We love to be able to see students go across the globe to be able to experience some of these life-changing opportunities. And so you could see these dots right here on our screen. These are some of the campuses that Pepperdine owns. And so aside from the Malibu, California campus, we have our campus in Washington, D.C., Buenos Aires, Argentina, London, England, Heidelberg, Germany, Lausanne, Switzerland, Florence, Italy, and as well as Shanghai, China. And from here, sometimes students will ask, hey, study abroad sounds cool, but how do I make it possible? How am I able to get there? And the good thing is any financial assistance students receive is able to go abroad with them. So if they receive Pell Grants, they receive Cal Grants for California residents, they receive Pepperdine Grants, they receive scholarships, that money can go abroad with them. And in terms for additional costs, for example, the flight to get to their program, as well as being able to go on field trips, there are scholarships available through the International Programs Office that you can be able to apply for to offset those costs. And why we love talking about it is because we feel that we're pretty good at it. And you can see from these rankings right here that Pepperdine is currently ranked as one of the top 5 programs in the nation, especially in terms for the percentage of students that study abroad. So you can see about 4 out of 5 students go for either a summer session, a semester, or a full year-long program. And so one of the things that I always tell students to keep in mind is that, as this world is becoming more and more interconnected, you want to be able to see how you can be able to distinguish yourself from others, how you can be able to step outside that comfort zone and be able to step into spaces of different languages, different backgrounds. And so hopefully Pepperdine Study Abroad program is something that can come to mind in terms for how you can be able to achieve some of that and how you can be able to even see some of the tangible aspects that students get out from studying abroad. We see that, in terms for the percentage, they're slightly higher for students that go study abroad to earn jobs, to earn internships. And that's something that right now a lot of workforces, a lot of companies, organizations are enjoying to see that students can be able to do that. So hopefully, once again, this is something that you can keep in mind moving forward. Now, at this point, I want to be able to cover in terms for how we review students at Pepperdine. And so with that, we offer a holistic review. And this means that we are looking at multiple factors that help us make our final decision in terms for the students that we want to bring onto our campus. And so with that, we look at academic and non-academic factors. So with the academic section, we are looking at transcripts, GPA, as well as optional test scores. And then for the non-academic factors, that is the extracurriculars, your essays, the academic letter recommendation, and the interviews. And so you can see here, the academics plays a decent chunk in terms for our decision-making process. What we like to say is that the academics get students to the door, but it's sometimes those non-academic factors that pushes students through it so that we can be able to say, hey, we feel that this student is going to thrive when they get onto campus. And so really quickly, I just want to cover some of what the academic portion looks like at Pepperdine. And so some important details that students can know moving forward is that for students applying for spring of 2021, as well as fall of 2021, we are test optional. And so when we say optional, we really do mean it. So for students, if they do not submit their test scores to Pepperdine, they won't be penalized. So just to kind of give you an idea, let's say student A submits test scores to Pepperdine and student B does not. We're not going to be saying, okay, student A is going to get 10 bonus points on their application and student B is going to get minus 10. We won't do that. Once again, we'll make our decisions accordingly based on the information and context that is provided to us. And so if you're wondering, hey, what does that context look like? For us, this is where we look at the school report. We're looking to see what school do you attend and what type of curriculum was offered to you. Did you have the opportunity to maybe take honors classes, maybe AP or IB courses? Maybe you had the opportunity to do dual enrollment at a local community college or a four-year university. Those are things that we'll look at. If you had the opportunity to say to yourself, hey, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to showcase the universities that I'm preparing for that next step at the collegiate level. We take notes on that. We're also looking at trends to see if maybe your first semester of your freshman year, you struggled a little bit. This is where you were still trying to figure out your schedule, your study habits, but then afterwards things started to pick up. That's when things clicked and you started to improve all across the board. We'll recognize this. And then of course we know that this past year most likely probably brought some difficulties regarding academics. And so if students have pass and fail grades, for us, we'll still accept those. They just won't be implemented into our GPA calculation. And so regarding that GPA recalculation, if you're wondering, hey, what is that going to be looking like? For us, how we do this is when we receive your transcript, we look at your 9 through 11 core academic classes. And from here, we shoot out a new GPA that's on the unweighted 4.0 scale. But right now, if, maybe a student's saying, Eddie, you were just talking about honors class. You were talking about IB and dual enrollment. Why is that not being factored into the GPA? For us, this is, once again, we're looking at context. So we might have a GPA in front of us. We might have a specific number, but we don't just take it at face value. We're saying to ourselves, hey, the transcript comes into play because this is going to give us a little bit more information on what is behind this GPA. What are the classes that the student was taking? So hopefully that's something that you can kind of remember when it comes to our review process. And so if you're wondering, Eddie, hey, just tell me what are the numbers that I need to know. What GPA do I need to get in? We don't have minimums or requirements, but we have something known as a middle 50%. And so what that means is if you were to line up all of our students in a straight row, this is the middle chunk. This is where we saw a majority of our students regarding their academics. But once again, we have students that are above and below these numbers, but just for you to kind of get some idea of what the applicant pool looks like. For GPA, we had students with a 3.66 to 3.97. For students that are applying For transfer students, once you have 30 units completed, we're mainly focusing on that college transcript. So if you're thinking of maybe transferring to Pepperdine, that's a route that you can be able to take as well. If you do have the chance to submit test scores, we do have our SAT and ACT, but once again, we don't prefer one or the other, and we do not have those as a requirement. Those are optional if you do want to submit those. So you can see that what the scores are here. And then the TOEFL is for our international students that are showcasing their proficiency within the English language. But once again, if a student is saying, Eddie, what if I got a 3.61? Is that the end of the road? Is that my application being thrown out the window? No, absolutely not. We're still looking at other factors that are coming into play. And so really quickly, I'll just go through some of the aspects within the common application. Just based on time, I may not be able to get through everything, but just for you to kind of get some idea and context. So how we review that final portion is through the common application. This is a system used by over 600 universities across the country. Pepperdine is one of the schools that is part of the common application. And from here, you fill out your demographic info. And afterwards, you come to the 4 major parts that consist of the common app. These include the activity section, the common application essay, the Pepperdine supplemental question, and then as well, the letter recommendation. And so I'll just quickly go through some of these aspects right now. And so for the activity section, this is where you get to list things that you're involved in, things you like to dedicate your time, that you're invested in. For us, we want to see maybe the passion that you've been able to demonstrate so far within your high school career, to see if maybe that can translate over to your time at Pepperdine. We'd love to see students that not only can do well in the classroom, but that are able to as well be involved and engaged in the Pepperdine community through some of the organizations, the student government, the volunteering. We want students to be involved in different aspects. We also have the common application personal essay, and this is your chance to showcase your voice. For us, we're able to see what school you go to. We see your grades. We see the activities, the extracurriculars you do. But your essay is really where you get to dive a little bit deeper besides that surface. And this is where you get to tell us a little bit of who you are as an individual. You can talk about, things within your daily life, things that are unique to you in terms for who makes the individual that you are right now. We have the Pepperdine supplemental question. And with this question, this goes directly to Pepperdine. And the first portion is essentially our mission statement. But if you go to the last section, it says that being that Pepperdine is a Christian university, why are you interested in attending, and how can you contribute to the conversations of faith on campus? With that question, sometimes students ask, hey, Eddie, what if I'm coming from a different faith background? What if I don't have one at all? For us, we're not asking, hey, do you have a PhD in religious studies? We're not asking, hey, how Christian are you? That's not what we're trying to get at. What we're hoping to see and understand from your answer is, are you able to come on campus and say, hey, maybe I come with a certain amount of knowledge. Maybe I don't come with, any background, any idea of, some discussion, certain topics, but I'm willing to sit down and listen to different perspectives. I'm willing to say, hey, I'm willing to put myself out there to be able to maybe help myself understand some of these concepts, and maybe I can play a part in other students figure out this as well. Sometimes those are great essays that we appreciate as well. So once again, the way that we want to be able to treat that supplemental question is essentially, how do you feel that you can be a positive Pepperdine community member? And then lastly is the academic letter recommendation. So we require 1 letter from an academic setting. So that could be a math class, a science, English, history, foreign language, religion course, depending on the school you attended. And from here, we do guarantee to read up to 2 letters. So maybe you have another teacher, a counselor that is familiar with your academic standing that you want to submit that letter, but we need to make sure that at least 1 is from an academic standing. And so something I usually tell students is that you want to make sure that you approach your teachers early on, just because you want to make sure you give them an ample amount of time to write the best letter as possible. You want to make sure that you're not going to them a week before the deadline. You want to make sure that they can do the best job possible to advocate for you. So those are at least some things about how you can be able to go through the common application. But one thing I do want to mention as well is that we have added admission interviews. This is something for students to have the opportunity to, once again, provide us more context for us to get to know you. And with these admission interviews, these are meant to be meaningful conversations. These are meant for us to, the notes that we take, they're treated as an additional letter recommendation. So we're not trying to stump students. We're not trying to, get you with any gotcha questions. We even provide the questions beforehand. So, you can be able to sign up for those within our page. You can see those questions, and you can be able to partner with a admission counselor like myself or like see our other staff members. And we'll be more than happy to do that with you. With that, I want to be able to continue forward in terms for when you can be able to submit your application. And so we have 2 deadlines available for students. And so we have an early action deadline as well as a regular decision deadline. And so first, I want to be able just to cover the difference between early action and early decision. That's probably some lingo that you hear with other universities. I just want to make sure I do my part to explain the difference between the two. So with early action, this allows for students to apply early. They get to receive their decision early, but it's not an official commitment to that school. You are not officially tied to that university. We want to make sure that you still have the opportunity to review your options, so you can be able to reach out to financial aid offices, to the admission offices. We want to make sure that that's all at your disposal. So once again, that deadline is November 1st, and students can hear back from us on or before January 10th. If you want a little bit extra time to work on your application, your essay, you always still have our January 15th deadline, and that is, January 15th, and you can be able to hear back from us a little bit on or before April 1st. And so if you're wondering, hey, Eddie, is there a difference between the two? Does one get, favoritism over the other? No, for us, we still want to be able to offer equal consideration in terms for admission as well as financial assistance. And so I would say pretty much the main difference between the two is just that if you applied early action, you receive your information earlier. Like I said, we want to make sure that, for example, if a student applied regular, that they're not missing out on the opportunity to get into Pepperdine, or they're not missing out on financial aid money. We want to make sure that students have that equal opportunity. Now, to go over an important topic that all students and families discuss is, how to pay for college. How do we make this possible? And so really quickly, I just want to walk together in terms for what is the cost of attendance at Pepperdine. And so with this cost, it does fall similarly in line with other small private universities, but I want to also make sure I discuss ways that you can be able to cut down on that cost and make sure that you can make your education at Pepperdine a reality. And so with that, the cost of attendance for the 2020 to 2021 academic year, this is with tuition, room and board, student fees, everything all together, the total cost comes out to a little bit over $74,000. And, maybe students and families might be saying, Eddie, that's a really big number. That's not something I have under my couch cushions. And this is a big number, but this is something I want students and families to remember, that this is the initial cost. This doesn't mean that this is the final cost that you will pay to come to Pepperdine. And how you can be able to distinguish that, how you can be able to say, hey, how is this number going to come down? It's through being able to go through the financial aid process. And so you can see that 92% of our student body receives some type of form of financial assistance to come to Pepperdine. And you can even see a great number in the admitted class in 2018, we offered more than $81 million in grants and scholarships. So this is money that students receive and don't have to worry about paying back after college. And so hopefully this is painting a picture in terms for how students are able to achieve and obtain a college degree at Pepperdine. And so let's discuss a little bit further on what the financial aid looks like at Pepperdine. And so we have our need-based aid as well as our scholarships. And so let's touch on need-based aid first. With that, we highly encourage all students and all families to fill out the FAFSA. That is the free application for federal student aid. And so with that, the application, it's going to be opening up tomorrow, I believe. So that's something that you can be able to keep in mind. And so with that, the FAFSA allows for students to be able to receive the maximum amount of aid possible. And so even if there's, students or families saying, hey, what's the point of filling out the FAFSA? What if we don't qualify? What if we don't receive aid? The truth is, that information is still vital and important because Pepperdine reviews that information to see what we can provide on our end from institutional aid. So students can potentially receive federal grants. They can receive as well state grants. These are especially for our California residents. That money is based on need. that the students demonstrate from either the federal government or the state government, but then Pepperdine grants can come into play. And this is based on our definition of need. And this is also reviewing academics and the strength of the applicant. So this is where, Pepperdine can be able to step in to say, this is what we can provide to you as a student. There are also federal loans available for students, and that is well federal work study. And if you're wondering, what is federal work study? This is where students are able to get a job on campus, and the money that they receive can help pay for a portion of their education. So examples can include working for, the library, working for the Career Center. A shout out, you can be able to work for the Office of Admission as a student intern to give tours to students and families. So this is a way that you can be able to receive money to help pay for maybe books or to pay for food. So at the same time, gain valuable work experience that you can put on a resume as you're going on forward within your career. Next, we have the scholarships that is offered to students. And so the first one listed is our Region and Seaver scholarships. This goes to the top 10% of our applicant pool. And those that are admitted can be able to receive awards of $30,000 and $36,000. And that is renewable for each year that students attend Pepperdine. Then we also have Pepperdine Achievement Awards. This is once again based on academics and the strength of the applicant to the university. And with these two scholarship awards, the truth is the moment that you apply to Pepperdine, you are automatically considered for these. You do not have to submit an extra form or an extra application to be able to receive these awards. And also, I do want to be able to mention that for students, even for those that do not submit test scores, they are still able to be considered based on their recalculated GPA as well as the rigor and context for those students. So that's something that you can be able to keep in mind as well, especially for this year. And then next we have our special achievement scholarships. These are for students that might be involved in speech and debate. They might be in fine arts, athletics, their journalism program. Students can be able to receive these awards still upon, figure out different programs around the university campus that can be able to support these students additionally. And then as well, we have our Church of Christ scholarships. Being that Pepperdine has an affiliation with the Churches of Christ, students can be able to receive these awards still upon filling out the FAFSA and submitting an extra letter recommendation from an elder or minister. And something that is not listed on this slide is outside scholarships. There are multiple programs and organizations across the country that want to be able to help students go to college. So you can be able to apply through different programs. And the good thing is, it's not just a one-time thing. You can be able to do this throughout your college career. And you can be able to find other ways to cut down on costs. For example, you can be able to maybe work as a resident advisor at university. Sometimes they're able to offer students housing and be able to offer students meal plans. So those are ways that you can be able to keep in mind to bring down that cost of Pepperdine. So with that, I want to be able to as well cover when you can be able to submit that FAFSA information. And so depending on when you're looking to apply, so whether that's, early action, you want to make sure that's in November 1st so that you can receive your financial aid package around the same time. And then as well, if you're looking to apply, through our regular and transfer app deadline, you can submit your FAFSA paperwork before or on February 15th so that you can receive your financial aid package once again on or before April 1st. With that, hopefully this is a little bit of a picture in terms for how you can be able to make your education at Pepperdine a reality through the multiple resources that we offer to students. And now one of the final topics I want to get to is the impact of a Pepperdine education. And for us, we want to make sure that students have a wonderful college experience, but we want to make sure that they're well prepared for that next step after college. And so really quickly, I want to kind of showcase some statistics and some rankings that solidify this. And so you can see that Pepperdine is currently ranked by USA News World Report as one of the top 50 universities in the country. And we're also ranked as one of the best value schools in the country as well. And so you can see that how much it costs to attend Pepperdine. Students are able to see an immediate return on investment based on the jobs and internships that they receive. So hopefully this is kind of painting a picture in terms for how Pepperdine is constantly emerging as a leader within higher education. Some great statistics I want to cover. The first one right here, you can see that 94% of our student body is involved in some type of real world experience, things that they are doing during their college career that they can put and be able to use that experience into the next step. So they're either involved in internships, student teaching, employment on or off campus, or doing undergraduate research. Once again, we want to provide those tools and resources necessary to be successful. Our 4-year graduation rate is 76%. That's even 35% higher than the national average. And then lastly, we see that 6 months after graduation, 93% of our Pepperdine grads are either employed, accepted into graduate school, volunteering full-time, or are in the military. And so if you're wondering, hey, where are these Pepperdine grads going? Where are they getting their jobs or internships? Those are good questions. And so you can see right here on this slide, some of the places that we've been finding them recently. And so for students, you can be able to, for example, work with the Career Center, and they'll be able to do resume building workshops. They can be able to do mock interviews with you. And then as well, you can be able to access things like career tracks. This is where the Career Center gets a group of students where they're able to go to different places across the country. Recently, they've been able to go to New York City. They've been able to go to Denver, Seattle, San Francisco. And they get to take those students and give a tour to some of these great corporations. And sometimes we have Pepperdine alum at these places. And so you get the chance to network with them as well. But then you also have your professors. Once again, they're also wonderful resources. The great example that I like giving is, one of our student workers, his name is Jonathan, and his professor let him know about an internship. And he essentially said, hey, this opportunity is going to be posted online for the university to see next week, but I think you'd be a great fit. Feel free to apply and continue from there. So the student took him up on his offer. He ended up applying and going to be accepted to go to the headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. He got to participate in a competition to pitch ideas to higher level executives. And from here, he ended up to be a Coca-Cola ambassador. So he got to promote Coca-Cola products in Southern California, especially to other universities within the area. And that's something that he got to do his junior year. So I think for us, we want to make sure that we give those opportunities to our students so that they can step into any place and be well prepared and that they can feel confident to thrive and do well. But if right now you're saying to yourself, Eddie, this sounds great, but I still want to know, what's it like to be a Pepperdine student? What's it like to maybe go through some of the experiences? And from here, you can be able to utilize our docuseries that we created a few years ago. And this is where we selected 5 students from campus, and you get to see what it means to be a Pepperdine wave. So you get to see them from new student orientation when they're moving into campus. Some of them went to go study abroad, so you get to see what some of the Pepperdine campuses look like, as well as the countries and cities that they visit. And then as well, you see in the final season in spring of 2018, where you get to see all those students graduate. So it's extremely well done. I'm extremely proud of one of these students in particular. They were my intern. She is right now at grad school at NYU. So you can be able to go onto our Pepperdine YouTube site and just type in Rising Tide, and you can be able to take a look at that. With that, you can feel free to stay connected with us during this time. You can be able to go onto our Pepperdine website and sign up for our virtual student-led tour, where one of our student tour guides takes you around different spaces on campus and as well provides their experiences. You could be able to connect with an admission counselor. So that could be Lexi, that could be myself, as well as other admission counselors that you can be able to reach out to, and we'll be more than happy to work with you. You can also download the Zemi app. This is an opportunity for students to connect with other prospective students across the country. We currently have literally thousands of students on the app that are communicating each and every single day with each other. And then as well, we are offering virtual events throughout this fall semester. For example, this past month, we've been able to offer essay writing workshops. We've been able to have our virtual Pepperdine preview week. And in term for right now, this Friday, we're having our first generation student panel. So we're always trying to come up with ways that you can be able to still be connected with Pepperdine and learn more about our experience in our campus. So hopefully those are things that you can be able to utilize in the future. But with that brings us to an end to the presentation. So we want to be able to just say quickly, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this session. And so at this point, we'll stick around maybe for any Q&A, but then as well, if we even have some time, depending on how things are going, we can be able to maybe see if Lexi has maybe some final words of advice in terms for kind of other students that are looking to Pepperdine as a school. So yeah, let's see if we have any Q&A sessions, and then I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and I think we're good from here. So students, feel free to, if you want to be able to ask questions, but at this point, I think we'll probably, Lexi, if you want, feel free to just give any other final words for our students.
Yeah, I mean, number one, I'm so happy that we were able to speak with you all and that you guys were able to get this information. If I had any advice, Eddie gave you all the information that I could have ever dreamed to you, but I would just say that as an alum of Pepperdine, one of my favorite parts of Pepperdine, and still really what I'm pulling into now as an alumnus, is that the resources that Pepperdine offers. And for you all as prospective students, we are the resources that you'll get firsthand. So like Eddie was saying, we are your first points of contact. We are here to answer any and every question that you might have. And if for some reason we don't have the answer, we'll always point you in the right direction. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time as a Pepperdine student, and it's part of the reason why I came back to work for the university, because I loved it so much. And so I'm super excited for you all.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think at this point, we'll probably stick for any other questions. But with that, we just want to say one more time, thank you for everyone that was able to view this session, and as well, maybe anyone in the future that views this session. Like Lexi said, we are more than happy to be your point of contact. And, we have staff that can be able to provide their personal experiences and can talk about the ways that they enjoyed Pepperdine University during their time. So with that, I think we'll pretty much probably end. I think, I think we're pretty much good on our end.
Okay, well, thank you, Eddie and Lexi. That was a great presentation. I learned a lot. I was taking notes here myself as well for my students. So thank you very much for just really doing that deep dive. And I appreciate how you shared, Eddie, how you review the applications and the thoughtfulness that you put into that process. I'm sure that takes a lot of time and energy, but as a counselor, that's very helpful to know kind of what your mindset is when you're looking at those applications, and it's very helpful for students too. So, so thank you again for joining us with Missouri ACAC. In just a moment, I'm going to share my screen. I'll go ahead and do that now, and have kind of a few points to wrap up. So just a moment. And hopefully it's coming. Here we are. Okay. So again, students and families and counselors across Missouri, thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you Pepperdine for joining us as well from California. Probably much better weather out there. But we will close here in just a moment, and students, you will have a very quick 4-question survey that we would appreciate your feedback. We also have sessions still coming up again within MOACAC.org, so you can see those sessions over the next week. And finally, this recording will appear in the next few days on our website at MOACAC.org, so that you can check back in with that as well. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening. And I'm going to go ahead and say good night. Be safe. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.